Recently, Corey Holcomb put his differences with Boyce Watkins aside and went to record his 5,150 show on the same day. This is a very good show that is very famous among African Americans on YouTube. And that show was about polygamy a lot. The show's name was Polygamy Can Save the Hood. 5150 with Darlene Ortiz, Marcus Smith, and Craig Facts on the Corey Holcomb Show. Okay. So. Oh, and this topic is very interesting. And give Willie a shout. He also talked about it. I like to play a small part of the movie and give Corey Holcomb a shout out, and then we'll come back. In America, it's very rare. Were you the only one with access who didn't split up the family and let the powers that be split us up in courthouses, stop family gatherings, and take away everything else? Because a woman thinks she can, and because a weak man will say he promised to only be with her. I have no idea. Many men who only sleep with their wives. Polygamy could help us get along as a people who want to go further. I'll go. I'll contact you. Hey, man, go ahead. I do know you. Want to say something, everyone? I feel like we have get it in. I feel like we have a trend of broke guys. We received a lot. That's just not a good reason. You get what I'm saying? They're just slobs. Now think about what would have happened if you had. If you knew you could get more than one woman if you had enough money, and if that's what it took to be a boss and get more than one woman. Do you know how many people would come out here, get to work, and get off their behinds? That will change the business as a whole. You said. Big driver. The hell with me. Young, get off his behind. I know. I want to tell you something, but I know you wouldn't hurt me, Greg. It's about money. Even worse, it's not sexual. If all men had 3 husbands and they did the job, no one would be having trouble, right? There are too many homes. You understand what I mean? In each house, there should be at least 1 guy and 3 women. But everyone else. Amen. You know that, and just look at how much sperm we make. In a month, I can get a woman pregnant every day. Could. You haven't done that, right? Only a few days out of the month can a woman get pregnant. So, being with only 1 woman isn't good for Mother Nature because I'm not growing at the rate she wanted me to. Amen. She gave me this clip with 100 rounds, but I'm only firing 1 shot at a time. And the man is very smart. I take. It got. Your feet are not bad. But that's. Since she is a woman. Only able to get. Pregnant. In 1 year, a man can have 365 babies. How many babies does a woman get? 1. Well, I think it's only fair, guys, that we do that sometimes. So, guys, let me talk this. And one of the guys was very funny, of course. He said, you know, there are a lot of broke brothers. But if they could meet more women and do it legally, they would go out and do something. Then, another brother said, you know, there are too many homes with only 1 parent. 1 guy for every 3 women should be the right number. And, of course, this is always talked about, and it will save the community. I am now living in Uganda. Okay. I live in Uganda, and the people who do these things are probably not too far away from me. Here, polygamy is very common. In the past, it was more famous and all that. Here's an example of. We aren't really talking about the fact that Africa has been for a long time full of all of these connections. 4 or 5 wives, or 6 wives. I met a guy whose father had something like 54 children. They did this for a long time in the Middle East. But one thing I learned is that most of the people who did those things were still pretty poor. So I'm not sure if that would be enough to save the hood. I think that if there are enough means, those people should be able to go to school. Because, for one thing, a lot of men aren't even ready to be a husband for one woman. And, if you want to be a man, you have to be able to make good decisions. Being a man with a high level of discernment is really important for building successful communities, companies, and relationships. But if you're a man and you don't have that, that's a problem. You don't have a lot of good judgment, and now you're in charge of 3 women that don't have that much insight. This really happened to some guys I knew. In Uganda, they've done a lot of good business. And when the business starts to do well, what do they sometimes do instead of putting the money back into the business? Go find a new wife. Get a different car. Again, when you make bad choices, it hurts the other people in the situation. So, and it's hard to take care of just one woman. Looking after 3. And what those kids are doing is not the solution for the Black community. For the Black community, the answer is that a lot of guys need to work together. A group of guys doing work together. A lot of pride is being put aside. If you want to have more than one partner, or if you don't. If guys in a community work together and put money back into that community, whether it's to help women or not, you need that push from men. I'm not saying women aren't important, because they are. Men are the most important thing that Black Americans have lost. So now we're talking about guys having women who can't connect with each other. This won't matter if men really build an economy, a business, industries, and chances. It makes it easy for some guys who wouldn't normally be attractive to become attractive. I want to use Dwight D. Eisenhower as a good example of this because he came from a middle class that grew outside of the interstate highway system. Once we put money into it as a country, and I didn't come up with this idea, I heard it somewhere else, but it makes sense because Ike was president. Because they could now go to school and be part of the system, a lot of guys who wouldn't have been wanted before became wanted. They could purchase homes. Now they are more likely to get married. I think what's going on right now is that even though there are a lot of unattractive men, we need more men to become attractive. And we can only do that by putting money into these guys. And that would make more guys want to marry women. Now, we have the problem of single mothers, and I think that polygamy could help some people with some problems. As long as both of these things are going on at the same time, and this is my honest view, you have to have men supporting and building up that community 24 hours a day. They help women get things done. Women start to feel better. There can be a lot more order and activity. It works really well. So, what do you think, guys? It's O'Shea, your boy. Duke Jackson is at it again, and here comes the next part of the Slurpy Junk RPG. Tell me about the bell. We're out.